What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we're joined by Andy Kamenetzky from Locked On Lakers as the Lakers make a deal to move Talen Horton-Tucker and Stanley Johnson, acquiring Patrick Beverley from the Utah Jazz, one of the holdovers from the Rudy Gobert trade. What does Patrick Beverley bring to this LA Lakers team, and will he and Russell Westbrook, two guys who have a very contentious relationship, be future teammates once we get to this next NBA season? But first, a quick message from our friends over at NHTSA, because look, are you somebody who thinks it's okay to drive around while high? What's the worst that can happen, right? You're driving below the speed limit a little bit, right? Not paying attention to certain things. It's no big deal, right? Absolutely wrong. The truth is, your reaction times slow down incredibly when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, you put everybody around you in danger. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel of a car. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Joining us now is Andy Kamenetzky from Locked On Lakers. You can follow on Twitter at Cam Brothers. Now, Andy, Lakers trading Talen Horton-Tucker and Stanley Johnson to Utah for one Patrick Beverley, a holdover from the Rudy Gobert deal earlier this offseason. Let's start with, first off, just how big of a win is this trade for Rob Pelinka and the rest of the Lakers front office to be able to turn Talen Horton-Tucker, guy, a bit of a down season, to turn that contract, which I think at this point could maybe be viewed as a bit of a negative asset if you're the Lakers, into a guy like Patrick Beverley, who is exactly the type of 3-and-D guard that you would want next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis?
Well, I mean, ultimately for Pelinka, the grading of win or evaluating of wins is going to come with what comes next, if anything comes next at all. But in a vacuum, yeah, I completely agree with you. This is a good trade for the Lakers. I don't think Talen Horton-Tucker and Stanley Johnson had definitive roles in the rotation moving forward, particularly in Talen Horton-Tucker's case, if Russell Westbrook is on this team, because there's just too much redundancy between them. You've got redundancy between THT and LeBron. In some respects, redundancy between THT and Anthony Davis because he's going to have the ball a lot. And the Lakers have Lonnie Walker. They have Kendrick Nunn. They've got a lot of guys who are either ball handling playmakers, ball handling scorers, and you need some utility off ball. And frankly, THT just has not developed that in, to be fair, a short period of time. Like, I still think THT is somebody with a lot of potential. It's kind of crazy, but he's not even 22 yet. And he really is a pretty relatively inexperienced player. But the Lakers are in extreme win now mode. And Patrick Beverley is a far better player, both as a fit alongside LeBron and AD, and in terms of being able to win right now with a definitive role. So this was a really good move for the Lakers. It does not automatically vault them back into contention, but it is a step towards being a much better team.
Yeah, you talk about the Lakers being in, win now mode. That's both the blessing and the curse of a LeBron James led team as LeBron enters year 20 of his career, and showing maybe some minimal signs of slowing down, but doesn't really look like he's slowing down all too much at this point yet. So you want to give him the absolute best chance to compete, and Patrick Beverley is a guy that at least moves the needle a little bit further in that correct direction. Now, does this feel, you mentioned, is this the move, preceding maybe another move, does it feel like this makes the long rumored Russell Westbrook to Indiana deal, more or less likely? And how do we feel about a potential core of LeBron, AD, Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, and a Patrick Beverley, a starting five of that caliber?
Well, I mean, Jackson, because I'm something of a sick, you know what, I really want the Lakers to hold off on making this deal to like mid-November, just because I want to see what Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley as teammates looks like. Like, they've had like a 10-year feud, like a
What are
very
you, a masochist? You want to see how bad this can turn out on the court for LA?
look. I think it's a good idea for a full season? No, and frankly, it becomes counterproductive after a while. But after everything that we've had with these guys openly feuding for like almost a decade, including last season when Westbrook having an absolutely horrendous game against the Timberwolves when Beverley was a member of that team, actually held his nose at Russell Westbrook's play, called him trash, and has talked about how Russell Westbrook he thinks cost him money because Russ had the infamous Pat Beverley tricking y'all. He's just out there running around. He's not doing anything. Russell Westbrook obviously upset at Patrick Beverley because Patrick Beverley injured him by what I guess would be sort of considered like a body check. There's been another time he's dived into his knees. So it's like, I want to see what this looks like. That being said, it's totally impractical for them to be in the same zip code, much less the same locker room. So it does feel like the Lakers are moving towards a deal with Russ. It's what they've wanted to do off season. For the time being, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner seems to be the best rumored offer out there. And a starting five of, let's just say, LeBron as your de facto point guard, really your point guard, but maybe not point guard in name, Patrick Beverley, Buddy Hield, Anthony Davis, Miles Turner. Is that as good as the Warriors at full strength, the Nuggets at full strength, the Clippers at full strength, Bucks, Celtics? I got to see what it looks like first. But that is a considerably better team than last season, especially defensively. If you look at a core of Patrick Beverley, Anthony Davis, and Miles Turner, both in terms of point of attack defense and last line of defense, that could be pretty formidable, especially with LeBron having more freedom to be that rover back type defender that he's often really good at with weak side help, weak side shot blocking. And there's enough there that if Buddy Hield is the fifth starter, I think you can actually find the weakest assignment for him, or at the very least compensate for that defensive inability, to put it kindly.
Is it crazy to think that if we do get this, glimpse at whatever potential, I don't know, clown fiesta this may turn into with Russ and Bev on the same team?
Fiesta. I like that.
We're gonna rock with clown fiesta. It's one of my favorite phrases for this type of situation, if you will. But it's is it weird? Like, I think that Pat Bev is the guy who can be like, water under the bridge, like brush it all to the side, like, no harm, no foul. We're just two dogs kind of going at each other. I feel like Russ is the one who may have a bit more of an issue as far as like just trying to put the past behind them and actually maybe try to just live in harmony for even, a quarter of a season.
I mean, look, I don't know. They both have extremely long memories. I mean, in certain respects, they're the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other. I mean, they're really similar types of people, and their approach to the game is in certain respects extremely similar, which is I play my way. I'm not changing a thing for anybody. I don't know Patrick Beverley well enough, or frankly, I mean, I don't know Russ well enough in terms of really being around him to know who would hold the grudge longer. But even if Patrick Beverley would be the one to attempt getting rid of the grudge first, and he did tweet out something in response to LeBron saying that the Russ slander had gone too far and he can't wait to see the guy basically go off this season. And Patrick Beverley retweeted that with what seemed like confirmation, but I don't know if I speak Twitter well enough to quite know if that was confirmation or trolling. But even if Patrick Beverley was willing to try, it just feels like the slightest thing is going to set either one of them off. It would be, if nothing else, a very delicate political situation, I think, monitoring those two as teammates over the course of the year. I mean, look, if the Lakers can't find a deal that they like for Russ, they're not in a position, I think, right now. I don't think they have the luxury of roster talent to just exile Russ, like send him home, give him the John Wall treatment you familiar with. I don't think that they can do that right away with Westbrook. Like I think they have to at least open camp with Russ if he's on the roster, see what it looks like, see if a different setting, a new coach, a new voice, Russell Westbrook perhaps realizing if this season doesn't work out for him, he could be out of the league after this season. Like I don't know if Russell Westbrook, even on a veteran's minimum, is going to generate that much interest if he has a few seasons in a row where it just seems like he's absolutely unwilling to adjust anything. Like there's a real echoes of Allen Iverson in this. And then you start thinking about, where does Russ even fit in? Like a contending team likely doesn't have a need for him and won't have the patience for it. A rebuilding team, what do you want to bring him in for, to block minutes from guys that you're developing? I'm not sure where he fits moving forward. So if Westbrook has self-awareness on this, and I think that is an open question, he may really have to try to make this work if he's in camp. And look, that could be good for the Lakers. And hopefully it's good for Russ. He's had a really great career. You don't want to see it go out like this, potentially.
Not for a future, first ballot Hall of Famer in Russell Westbrook. You definitely don't want to see his career go out sad. But this Lakers situation is pretty interesting. I'll give you that, Andy. I mean, hey, are we looking at, Patrick Beverley, Russell Westbrook starting backcourt for your 2022-2023 LA Lakers? Or is Russ potentially on the way out the door before training camp hits? You're going to have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On Lakers. Andy, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Anytime, man.